LA and I hire a nanny. And I have no furniture in this apartment at this point. I think I had like an IKEA futon and a kitchen table and Dom's crib. And I'm sitting at my little kitchen table and my phone rings. It's Brooke Burke's assistant. Hey, so Brooke wants to know if you want to come over to her house tomorrow and film workout videos with her. What? What? Yes. First of all, yes. But second of all, what just happened? Like, that doesn't happen. You guys, had I not sent an email on a whim asking if I could write, a week later, I'm not getting a phone call asking to go to her house in Malibu and film workouts. P.S. I sucked, and yes, you can look those workout videos up. They're funny. You want to see just how far I've come? Look them up. I'm on a green tank top, my very first one. Green tank top, black shorts. It's so bad. And literally though, so I go to her house, I have no idea what I'm doing, okay? And she's like, okay, like, go out there. No, I know what I'm doing in terms of exercise. I have no idea what I'm doing in front of a camera. Like, I'm not good at it at all. And she says, you know, do like a 10-minute ab video or something. I'm like, okay. So I go out there, stiff as a board, talking to the camera. Okay, you are going, like, this is so bad. Just go look it up. But here's what I'll say. I filmed those videos that day, and in between filming my stuff, I'd go in the house and I'd watch Brooke film her stuff. Brooke's been around for a while, right? She's a good TV personality. She knows what she's doing in front of the camera, and I would sit there and I would study what she did. And I'd be like, how does she make it look so natural? And I would watch, and I'd be like, okay, it's like she's talking to her best friend. Oh, I get it. She made the camera her best friend. That's not hard. And so slowly but surely, like watching her work, I started to understand, like, this is how I can be more comfortable in the camera. And each time I filmed, things got better, and she kept inviting me back. I actually worked with her for 3 years and filmed 2 workout videos with her as well. So all along this process, it takes 3 months. My husband finally gets transferred back to LA. Great, things are good. My business is growing, or at least it was, and then the big crash hits. And what's the first thing to go when people start losing their jobs? The very expensive personal trainer. So my 6-figure business got cut in half, literally cut in half in 1 month. And it was November, so it was a month before Christmas. So I looked at my husband and I was like, I gotta go work at a gym. Like, we need money coming in. Like, I just lost 12 clients in 1 month. I had big clients. Like, if they're losing job and losing money, they're out. So this has been the pattern of my life. It's like something really good is going on at the exact same time that something really crappy is going on. And you have to pick which side you're gonna live on, right? Like, are you gonna live in the positive or are you gonna live in the negative? Because there's always gonna be both. So I start working at Equinox. Over the time, things are getting progressively worse between my ex-husband and I, just in terms of growing apart. We had always said that if we started to grow apart that badly and we couldn't fix it, and trust me, we were trying, that we would divorce before we got to a point of hating each other. And that's what we did. It finally got to the point and we're like, we're gonna be better as friends if we get divorced now than if we keep trying to do this, because we were getting to the point of starting to fight. So we get divorced. Fine. I'm working 14 hours a day. I'm working at Equinox. I'm seeing the private clients that I still have. He moves a mile up the street. We're both taking turns taking care of Dominic, and everything is going good. And throughout that time, I start creating something called Change My Plate. You guys know it as the portion control system, okay? So I started developing this container system for portion control after watching my clients struggle with nutrition. Takes me a while, takes me a year and a half, 2 years to launch that, right? Didn't have Carl money backing me up at the time. Takes a little longer when you do it on your own. But I launch it. I launch it on the Hallmark Channel on a show called Home and Family. And 6 weeks after launching it, now I will say this, at that moment, yes, was I selling them out of the closet of my 1-bedroom apartment? Yes, I was, okay? I was everything. I was customer service, I was the website, I was packaging, and I was shipping, but it was doing well. And I had a lot of bigwig clients at the time, a lot of clients in the movie industry. And that didn't just come easy. That came from a lot of hard work over a 10-year period, training somebody so well that they told a friend, that they told a friend, and they told a friend, and that's how my business got built. It was treating that one stay-at-home mom like she was the best client ever, because she was the best client ever, and she got great results, and she would go tell her friend, And then that friend would get great results, and they would go tell the next person. That's how I built my business. It was word of mouth. There was no social media. There was literally, like, you could flyer cars, you could make business cards, you could take an ad out in the newspaper. That was it. Facebook was barely a thing. Dominic was 4 months old when I set up my Facebook account. I remember holding him in my arms, creating my account and being like, what is this thing? So like, I had to do the legwork, and I had to be really good at being a trainer if I wanted to get my next client, because the only way I was getting that next one was to do really well with the first one. So here I am, I have these big wig clients, and I have one client in particular that's very big in the movie industry, and they had watched me go through the whole process of launching Change My Plate, and I gave them one. I was like, oh, look, it's done. And she has somebody over her house one day from Sony that they're friends with, and she shows it to him. I think the gentleman was a little bit overweight, and she was trying to give him a nudge in the right direction. She wanted him to get healthier, and she showed it to him, and she's like, oh, look what our trainer created. Like, do you want to try it? And he was like, no, I really don't. but he said, I think I know somebody who might be interested in that. And he said, can I pass it on? So she calls me and says, can you pass it on? And I was like, well, yeah, who does he want to pass it on to? Just out of curiosity. She goes, I don't know, some company, Beachbody? Drop the phone. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, so can I pass it on? I was like, pass it on right now. Like, yes, pass it on. So she does, she passes it on. A year before that, though, you guys, while I was creating Change My Plate, an opportunity had come up for me to replace Jillian Michaels on The Biggest Loser. I auditioned for that show for 4 months. Audition. I mean, like, literally on the weekly, I was either going in the casting director's office or filming something to give to them. And all through that time, all I wanted was to replace Jillian Michaels on The Biggest Loser. That was the coup de grace, at least I thought it was. And it came down to me and one other person. A lot of you guys know this story. And the casting director called me 2 days before they were making the announcement. And she's like, I'm fighting so hard for you. And if you don't get it, you'll know why. They're making the announcement on Monday. So this was a Friday that she called me. So sure enough, Monday, the news comes up, and Anna Kournikova is the new trainer on The Biggest Loser. And I'm pissed. I'm like, she's a tennis player. She's not even a trainer. She doesn't know what she's doing. And I'm like, that's a hit, right? That was 4 months of auditioning. And one, you make it past round 1, and you think, okay, yes. And then you make it past round 2, and you think, I'm gonna get it. You make it past round 3, and you're like, it's mine. And they call you and they say, it's down to you and one other person. And you're like, it's in the bag. This is gonna be the one. And then you find out, not only is it not the one, but you didn't even lose it to like a trainer. You just lost it to a name. You lost it to a celebrity. That is a big blow. That is a door slamming in your face. That one definitely took the wind out of me for a minute. But I moved forward and I kept creating Change My Plate. So here I am a year later, and they want to pass it on to Beachbody. They pass it on. This was probably November, okay? They pass it on, and I get a call the next day. Picking Dom up from preschool. I had to like sit down on the kid's swing because my heart was racing so bad. And I was like, okay, we're breathing, we're talking, don't sound like an idiot. Like, don't blow it before you even get the chance. And it's head of product development, Heather Church, and she says, this was passed on to me by a friend, and we're curious, and we want to bring you in. Okay, great. Okay, but we're not going to bring you in for 6 weeks because the CEO is out on a ski vacation. Jerk. This was the longest 6 weeks of my life, and you analyze everything that could go wrong, all the things that you're gonna say, what are you gonna wear, because clearly that's the most important thing, right? And so for 6 weeks, I am like this. I'm like pacing every day, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, it's gonna happen, it's not gonna happen, don't get your hopes up, but it could happen, oh my God, what if it happened? Mind you, I was the girl like 7 years ago that bought P90X late at night off the infomercial and said to my boyfriend who became my husband at the time, I wonder how you get to beat Tony Horton. Swear to God, the words came out of my mouth. I wonder how you get to beat Tony Horton. Who do you have to know? Carl Deichler. So they finally call me, and it finally rolls around. I go into the meeting. It's this big meeting room. At least it felt like it at the time. I've had many meetings in there since then. It's not as big as I thought it was. It felt enormous. And it's like Carl and Heather Church and her 3 assistants. And Carl comes in, being Carl, sits down at the other end of the table. He's like, okay, so like, why do you want to sell your product? Like, why do you want to sell it to us? Guys, I couldn't even remember what I told you. I was trying so hard to like, please pick me. Please let this be the one. And I explained to him how I don't love the business side. I probably shouldn't have said that, but it didn't backfire on me. But I was like, I don't like the business side. I like to help people. That's what I want to do. Like, I don't want to do the finance and the shipping and the da-da-da. And he's like, okay, great. Well, you know, if we should choose to buy it from you, this is how it would go. We want to keep you on as the face, have you create some workouts. Great. And then he's like, out, like leaves the room. And Heather talks to me for a few more minutes and she asks me to tell her something about myself. I don't remember exactly what. And I tell her, and they're like, okay, great. The meeting probably was 15 or 20 minutes. And I leave the meeting and all of a sudden I'm like, wah, wah. Because they tell me like, you'll hear from us. And I'm like, there goes another one. It took them 6 weeks, by the way, to get back to me. Okay? Again, the longest 6 weeks of my life. But so, wait, but this is how my mind works. I leave, and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I say the right thing to Heather? Did I tell her enough about me and how I want to help people that I sent her another email? I thanked her for the meeting, and then I re-described myself in the email, and I was like, I'm not sure if I was clear. You guys, sometimes you just, you want it so bad that you're just like, I'm gonna do anything to get it. Thank God they didn't smell my desperation. And then she responded back and she's like, no, it was great. We'll be in touch. 6 weeks before I hear anything. And actually, at the time, I had also applied for Women's Health magazine. They have like this contest every year for like the next top trainer. And I had applied for it before Beachbody had called. And actually, I had been selected as one of the top 5. So it comes down to literally the day before I have to tell Women's Health magazine if I'm gonna take the offer with them. Because if I sign their contract, I can't sign this Beachbody contract if it comes. And so I send one more email and I'm like, hey, just checking in. And they email back and they're like, yeah, we haven't forgotten about you. And I had to make the choice. I had to like put my faith that this could come through or risk blowing this by taking this Women's Health one. I said no to the Women's Health magazine. And 3 days later at like 10:30 at night, Mr. Jonathan Gelfand style, I get my contract. It's like a Friday night at 10:30 at night. The email comes through and I open it up and I start to read the contract. And I'm like reading it and I'm seeing numbers and I'm crying. And my dad lives in, I think, Ohio at the time. So it's late. It's like 1:30 in the morning. And I call my dad, crying. Probably not a great idea either. I'm full of wonderful ideas. I call my dad at 1:30 in the morning. I'm crying so hard I can't get the words out. So he thinks something's horribly wrong. And I'm like, Dad, I did it. And he's like, did what? And I was like, my whole life just changed. Like, I got the contract. So here's me signing the contract thinking like, well, that's a for sure given. Like, your whole life has just changed. Not always. It did, but I'll tell you why I don't mean there. So I signed the contract, we go into development, we develop the program, everything's going great. We're going into rehearsals for the program. Almost a year later, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. There was supposed to be a 9-week test group. It went 33 weeks. Over those 33 weeks, slowly but surely, I had to let go of all of my private clients because I had to teach a test group in the morning, a test group in the evening, and a test group on Saturday. So 6 days a week, I had to be at Beachbody headquarters, which was 45 minutes away from my house. So there was only so much time to see clients. That's scary. It's scary to let go of definite money for this. It's like I had the contract, there was a certain amount of development money, but it was enough to get me through development. It wasn't going to be enough to keep paying the bills if things didn't go through. Again, I had to put my faith over here and trust that this was going to be good because I had to let go of a lot of money over here and all those clients. So we get all the way through, we get into rehearsals for 21 Day Fix, and I had been getting ready to compete as well because I like to do all the things at one time. So we're in rehearsals. It's a week before we're gonna film 21 Day Fix. I'm carb depleted, I'm dehydrated, I'm exhausted. 3 days into rehearsals, which were going well for me, but not going well at the same time because the director at the time didn't love me. I had actually worked background cast for her on Brooke Burke's videos and did a little video called Yoga Booty Ballet Baby on the Way, if you all know it. Not many people know I had already done a Beachbody workout program. I was background cast, but she kept treating me as such. She was treating me like I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So rehearsals were getting really frustrating for me. It was building up. And 3 days in, I get a phone call from my ex-husband, and he says, I just lost my job. I'm like, okay. And mind you, again, I'm in rehearsal, okay? And he says, I just lost my job. Well, his family, remember, lives in San Diego, so I get this feeling that he's leaving. And I said, are you moving back to San Diego? And he said, yes. And I said, when? He said, Monday. It was Wednesday. He was leaving in less than a week. We have a 3-year-old. And he said, I want to take Dom with me. And I'm like, no, you're not taking Dominic with you. And he's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know, I'll figure it out, but I can't do it right now. I have to get back to rehearsal. I get off the phone. Stephanie Saunders, who is head of fitness development, creates programs with me, looks at me, and she's like, what's wrong? It was all I could do to just say one word. I said, room. I said, room, go over there. I needed to go to a room because I needed to cry. And so we go in a room, she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh my God, he lost his job. I got to do it all by myself. Because at the time, we were sharing custody. We both saw Dominic every day. One of us took him to school, the other one picked him up, and we took turns as to whose house he would live at. We lived a mile away from each other. And I was like, he's leaving. I got to do it all by myself. My life is falling apart. She's like, slow down. Your life isn't falling apart. It's just beginning. You're good. She's like, let's get through rehearsal, hire a nanny. You're going to be fine. I'm like, okay. So I breathe, I go back to rehearsal, nobody has a clue what's going on, great. Leave rehearsal on Friday, go to register for my fitness competition that I'm doing on Saturday. Get there, I'm pretty depleted at this point in time. I'm pretty nauseous, pretty woozy, but I'm holding it together. I'm driving home, I'm like, okay, I'm registered, tomorrow's the big day. I'm driving well, by the way, and this motorcycle comes flying up on my right, catches his peg on my front bumper and rips it off my brand new Mercedes. And the only reason I say that is because I had driven a little Honda Civic for a very long time, and I had just bought myself that car 4 months earlier. And I'm like, come on! Like, what is happening? Again, remember I said there's always something good going on, and then there's always some crap happening on the other end of it. So I'm getting ready to film what could be the biggest program of my life, and my ex-husband says he's leaving. I have to figure out how to take care of my 3-year-old completely on my own now. And my front bumper gets ripped off, and I'm just like, well, I throw my hands in the air. I'm like, whatever. Like, I can't deal with this right now. I compete. It's great. I take 6, go home. I rest. We get on set. We're ready to film the videos. Everybody is there. When you're a new trainer, everybody's there. They want to make sure you don't mess up, including Carl. And I was like, can you ask him to, like, go in the back room? Because I can't look at him, and like I'm nervous enough. Like I can't have his judgment while I try to film this. So they put him in a back room. Thank you. And I was like, thank you, God. And they're like, okay, so like let's just do one take and we'll see how it goes. Okay, great. So we do the first take. They yell action. We film all 30 minutes, right? There's no cutting. We film all 30 minutes, and we finish filming. They say cut. And everybody's just sort of standing there staring at me blankly. And I'm like, oh, crap. Like, I really, really sucked on that one. Like, I'm waiting for the lecture because nobody's saying anything. The room is silent. And the director comes out. Remember the director that wasn't being so nice to me? And she comes out and she calls me Boo. And she comes out and she goes, Boo. And I'm like, what? And she goes, never in all my years of filming fitness videos has anybody gotten it on the first take. I was like, yes, okay, finally, like, let's do this. And she's like, you ready? And I was like, yeah. She goes, let's go. Carl left. He didn't feel he needed to stay anymore. It was a big relief. But anyways, we film the videos, and then I have to wait 6 months before any of you guys even find out who I am. With that program was filmed and in the can for 6 months. I was in this waiting limbo period, not knowing what my life was going to be. So once again, having to trust, having to figure out, what do I do next? I can't promote it yet. But all the while, good things, hard things. Good things, hard things. And even now, you know, Michael introduced this as me being an entrepreneur, and that is what I want to explain to you guys, that even after 21 Day Fix, and obviously went on to be a massive hit, you know, we sold in 8 hours what they expected to sell in the first week, and sold in the first week what they expected to sell in 3 months, and you guys hated everybody because everything was on back order for 3 months. It's a good problem to have. Even now, though, I am still an entrepreneur, and I still have to ask for what I want. And there will be times that doors are closed in my face. Guys, that cookbook did not happen just because Carl came up to me and was like, let's make a cookbook. You guys were asking me, like, hey, we want more recipes. We were on a plane. We were flying back from, like, I don't know, one of our big events. Everybody was on the plane, corporate. And I said to him, I was like, I think we should do a cookbook. And he was like, why? Like, people are asking for it. And he was like, oh, all right, well, we'll do one. We'll do one like that. And then they weren't gonna bring enough of them to Summit. The year it launched, they wanted to bring 5,000 of them to Summit. And I was like, but you have 20,000 people coming. And they're like, yeah, but we're not gonna sell that many. And I was like, are you insane? Like, you better bring more, you're gonna have people really mad. And I had to go in and I had to fight for it. And not a fight for it in a mean way, but like a fight for, like, I believe that this is going to be a big deal. Like, we made it, bring the books to Summit. And he goes, fine, we'll bring 10,000 and we'll ship 5,000 back. We didn't ship any back. We sold out in 2 days, and we sold almost 500,000 copies of that cookbook in the first year alone. Okay? But again, would it have happened if I hadn't asked for it? No. So again, it's a very long story. It's hard to sum your life up in an hour or 45 minutes. But throughout that story, I just want to point out to you what I can look at now and say are the 6 things that I think you need to do to be a successful entrepreneur. And the first one is to not be afraid to ask. You can't be afraid of the no. You can't be afraid of somebody saying no. You have to go ask again. I actually did a post about this on social media the other day, that if you ask, and what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no. Will that kill you? Absolutely not. You go ask again. If you let the first no stop you, you will never be an entrepreneur. You better expect no than you expect yes more often, at least at the beginning, right? It takes time. Even if you know in your heart that it's supposed to happen, that doesn't mean every other person out there knows. You're gonna have to do the work. You're gonna have to do the work again. You're gonna have to do the work again. So first and foremost is not to be afraid to ask for what you want. I truly believe that's the only reason I'm standing here, is that I am the person that so much so believes in something I want, and it's not in an arrogant way. It's just, if I want something, like I said, the only thing that's going to stop me from getting it is me. And that's not because I'm gonna let a setback stop me. That's because if and when I get to the point where I choose to no longer pursue it, then that's my choice. But I refuse to let my future be in the hands of somebody else. And what I mean by that is, you don't get to tell me I'm not good enough. I had a lot of people tell me I'm not good enough. I had my mom ask me when I moved to California why I thought I was gonna make it, and why did I think I was any better than anybody else that lived in California. The one person that's supposed to have your back. She wasn't asking in a nice way. She was asking like, what makes you think you're so good? Okay? So if you let that person knock you down or crush your spirit, you won't get there. You guys are going to face this. We all have these things in our life. We all have a Gary Hubler in our life. Gary Hubler is my ballet master. That breaks our spirit. You want to know when the worst of that came out? It wasn't when I took myself back to dance class. It was when Carl asked me to create a dance program called Country Heat. Every fear, anxiety, and self-doubt came up through that entire creation process. It wasn't pretty. I had to work through all of my crap. I did. It was like the most therapeutic program ever, but it was there, and it was not cute. In fact, one time I told Carl, he was yelling at me about something. He was yelling. I showed him a workout from Country Heat, and he was like, that wasn't the one I wanted to see. But I was like exhausted, and again, all of my anxiety and self-doubt was there, and he was kind of yelling at me about it. And I was like, I'm gonna walk away from you now. Which is weird to say to the CEO, right? But I was gonna cry, so I don't wanna cry in front of him. I was like, I'm gonna walk away from you now. And he's like, what? And I like walk in the other room. So he comes in there, and I'm like sitting on the floor, crying. He's like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm this close to throwing myself down the effing stairs just so I don't have to do this program. Because it was killing me. All of my self-doubt was taking over. I didn't believe in myself. And thank God he is the good mentor that he is, and he was like, okay, now's my time to back off, and he talked me off the ledge. But it all kept coming up. I just kept hearing Gary Hubler in the back of my head. You're not good enough. You can't do it. What makes you think you can? You can't let that person get in your head. It will stop you. Okay. The next thing I think that everybody needs to do is see setbacks as redirects. I talk about this a lot. I don't have failures. Now, if you asked me that 10 years ago if I had failures, I could rattle off a whole long laundry list of failures I've had in my life. I could still rattle off failures right now. I just closed a restaurant that was open for 2 weeks. That was fun. But is it a failure? No. Is it a redirect? Yes. You guys, if I didn't have every single failure that I had, I wouldn't be standing on this stage. If Biggest Loser had said yes to me, I would have been that person replacing Jillian Michaels. And let's just be honest, there was nobody that was going to replace Jillian Michaels on that show. She had that spot. And anybody that has stepped into it since, they haven't had the same career that she has. Thank God they didn't pick me. Because I would choose to be standing here any day of the week over having stood there. Did I know that at the time? No, I didn't know that this was coming a year later. So you can't look at those failures as failures. You have to look at them as the redirects. It's the train tracks being switched to put you in the direction you're actually supposed to go. Every time something comes up that feels like life is kicking you when you're down, if you can just shift your mindset to it's a redirect. It's a redirect. This isn't my path. We think we know what our path is supposed to be, and we think we know what time frame it is supposed to happen in. I thought I should have been up on this stage when I was 27 years old. In my mind, that's when I wanted it, right? I want it right now. I'm not willing to wait. I'm the most impatient person in the world. But if I give up on my dreams because it's not happening in my time frame, that's on me. It happened. It just happened 10 years later than I expected it to. Thank God I kept pushing through, or I wouldn't be standing here. So it's the same for you guys, right? Whether you're a new coach or you've been a coach for a while, maybe your business was doing well, maybe you've seen a shift in the business over the last 2 years. If you look at it as failures, if you look at it as I lost a coach or I didn't sign somebody and that's a failure and I'm not meant to do this, even though in your heart you want to do this, that is you stopping yourself, and that is you looking at it as a failure instead of what it really is, which is a redirect. Maybe it's redirecting you to take a look at how you approach the business. Maybe it's a redirect telling you to look at yourself first. Be the proof the product works. Maybe you're not living that story. Maybe you're not sharing your truth yet, and if you're not doing that, then you're not attracting your tribe. But they're not failures, they're redirects. So we just need to change the mindset there. Okay, number 3, work what you have while you work for what you want. This is a big one that I believe in. We always are looking ahead, right? I want that goal. I want to be in the top 10. I want to be an elite. Great. Work with what you have while you work for what you want. You can only work with what you have. You have to grow this to get to that. That is not going to be just handed to you. Listen, we would all love to grow up with very rich parents that are very famous, that make it very easy for us to get where we want to go in life. That's not going to happen for 99.9% of us. We're going to have to work. So you have to work with what you have. You work your business. If you have one coach, you work with that one coach. If you don't have any coaches, you work on you. You become the proof the product works, but you work with what you have while you're working to get to where you want to go. That's the only way to get there. I worked with every one of those private clients. Every time I stepped foot in somebody's house, they were my only priority. That hour was theirs, and they were going to get 110% of me, because again, their success was going to be my success, because if they got results, they were going to tell a friend, and that friend was going to come find me. So you're going to work with what you have while you work for what you want. You only truly fail if you stop going after what you want. Like I said, I'm like a freight train. When I put something in motion, it's very hard to stop me. You're probably not going to. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons I ended up here. It was not, there's nothing inside of me that you guys don't have as well. it set maybe a feisty Italian personality that when somebody told me I couldn't do it, my attitude was watch me. Don't believe me, just watch. Like, I just didn't let somebody tell me that I couldn't do it. So you need to have that exact same attitude. That the only way you're gonna stop is if you choose to stop. Not because somebody else is going to stop you. Okay, treat everyone like they are your best friend and your dream client. This is a big deal. This is a big deal for you guys too. You never know who's going to turn into your best coach or your best challenger that brings you 10 new friends, right? When you meet somebody brand new, you don't know them, you don't know their life. That's a joke that we always have. You don't know me, you don't know my life. But it's true. You don't know them yet, and you don't know who they know, and you don't know what their work ethic is, and you don't know what their results are going to be. So you treat everyone like they are your best friend and your dream client. They all get the exact same attention, okay? If your favorite celebrity reached out to you and was like, hey, what's that ultimate portion fix thing that you're selling? I want in on it. You would backflip and bend over and respond and motivate and encourage and inspire them until the cows came home. You do the exact same thing for Betty Sue right down the street because you don't know who she knows. You don't know who her family is and her relatives are. So you need to treat everybody like they are your best friend and your dream client. Okay, last thing is sometimes you have to go back to go forward. That's a big one for me. I had a lot of setbacks, a lot of things I had to overcome. Taking myself back to Jazz 1. I needed to go back to Jazz 1, not because I couldn't dance, but because I had to build my confidence back up. Sometimes you just have to go back to the basics to be able to move forward in life. So don't be afraid of it. If you're here and you're struggling for any reason, or like I said, if it comes a time where you lose a couple coaches, that's okay. Go back to the basics. We have this entire Success Club system now that is built around the basics of coaching to help you guys get to the next step. Ultimate Portion Fix. We have the entire Master Series going on. That is taking you to the basics of what a coach is every single month that you watch that. We're talking about challenge group guides. We're talking about inviting via social media. We have a whole thing on business and different people. Carl speaking. I have one of our big coaches speaking. Michael will eventually speak on there. We've got guest experts coming on. Go back to the basics. What got you going in the first place? Everybody thinks it's all about a fancy post or like, I have to be so great at creating graphics or like, I have to have like some amazing challenge group. Your challenge group should be amazing because you're in it and you're creating camaraderie in there and you're creating an environment that people want to come into and you're helping them be successful. That's what it's about. It's not about whether or not you have like the most beautiful Instagram page that all has like the same filter on every picture. That's a big thing right now. I've had like three of my people that do my PR and stuff. They're like, really, you should start doing that whole filter thing. And I was like, I will not. I'm not gonna buy into this. I was like, I have more important things to do than worry about the filter on my photo. I'm not gonna worry about if it's the cover. But you guys, you get caught up in that, right? It's more important about sharing your story. What is your story? That's what you want to do. Go back to that. Go back to telling about why you started with Beachbody. I hear Becky Brissett tell her story all the time, and when she goes back to her basics, because it's been a long time and a long journey for her, her going back to basics was she signed up to be a Beachbody coach so she could afford diapers. She just wanted a little extra cash to buy diapers for her babies. Go back to sharing your story. Go back to whatever it was that got you involved here. There's basics behind being an entrepreneur that you have to follow. It doesn't happen overnight. I didn't wake up one day and say, how do you get to be Tony Horton? And then end up standing on this stage the next week. It was 10 years later that I got the call. And even now, it's been another 5 years of work. And when I say work, I mean like everyday work. I put everything I can into the programs that I create for you guys. Partially for me, because that is my work ethic, and I want to give you guys the best thing possible. And you guys, I hope, take that much pride in your work, that when you're creating your challenge groups, when you are creating your posts, that you're really thinking about putting out something that's truly going to help somebody. But it's also because I want you guys to have the tools to be successful. They are there. You all have the same opportunities. I know you look at people like 10-star diamonds, 20-star diamonds, superstar diamonds, and whatever all the other rankings are and think like, well, they're so far ahead of me. But we've watched underdogs do it. We watched Emily Favre come out of nowhere last year and come up to number 3. They were going over the rankings the other day, and some of the people that are in the top 10 right now are coaches I've never even heard of. They're coming out of, you guys can come out of nowhere. You can be the underdog that comes up to the top if you're willing to put the work in. But the work starts with you. It doesn't start with how many challengers do I get in. It starts with what am I willing to work on myself so I can share my story and help more people. Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. I am so proud of all of you for being here. Obviously, you have to earn your way into this lovely vacation, so enjoy it.
Autumn Calabrese.